The consequences of our decisions. Consequences of our decisions. Facebook Live, good evening. I'm only reintroducing myself because somebody may share this video with somebody, or somebody may share this video on somebody's page. I'm Mr. Cage, lead facilitator for Potential, teaching kids to think before they do. But also I am the director of operations for Divine Works Education and Training, where we provide one-on-one and group interactive education, the knowledge, and training, the application of that knowledge, which equates to wisdom, cognitive development, personal growth and development in the areas of school, life, and career. Let's rock. That's my brief reintroduction. Let's see who pops on to this evening's live. Today is the 7th of October. We got 3 days until the 1-year anniversary of Potential. And we are excited about that, even though it may not seem as though I'm excited. I am, we are, but we have a great deal of work to do in our surrounding communities. We'll give a little bit of second before we go into this conversation. My goal is to give about minimum 3 thoughts to build off of. The end goal or the objective is to help us be conscious, whether we are teenagers, young adults, or adults. The objective is for us to be conscious and aware of the long-term consequences, whether those consequences are positive or negative in association with our decision making. And this first statement is going to give you a better feel of how this conversation is going to go. Feel free to jump in. I'm looking at another screen where if anybody got any comments they want to share, I should be able to see those comments on my screen. Definitely. I'm gonna try to stay abreast of what's taking place. If you see me moving right to left, left to right, it's because I'm looking at various screens. I may be reading from a screen or trying to see if somebody got a comment or a question in connection to, what's being shared. I may need to see if I can change my screen. If I can change my screen to just see y'all, it'll help me tremendously. But hey, who knows? We're gonna go with what we need to go with. We're gonna go with the flow. That's gonna help me, what I'm looking at now. That's gonna help a brother tremendously. Yeah. All right, let's rock and roll. This is the consequences of our decisions. Yeah, I'm gonna stay with y'all on this. I'm gonna try to stay abreast to these comments if you got any. I don't think I see any new messages. All right, please forgive me, because if I don't respond to your comment It's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because I don't see the comment. That's why. Yeah. Okay, I can see him now. Yeah, I see Darren on there. Yeah, I gotta give you a call. It's gonna happen, my brother. I was thinking about you the other day. Thinking about how proud I was of you, your transition, my brother. We'll be connecting sooner rather than later. All right, if you're watching this real fast, do me a favor and type the word quote. 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 I'm gonna give this first quote. I'm gonna give this first quote. Two more statements after that. Go a little bit into detail. Try to make it as practical as possible. Yes, sir. Try to make it as practical as possible. Because I haven't done this. I haven't done this type of Facebook Live from the computer in a minute. Yes, sir. First quote. I quote Albert Einstein. You cannot deal with complex problems on a higher level using lower level solutions. You cannot deal with complex problems on a higher level using lower level solutions. You have to use new solutions to deal with new problems. My first thought that comes to that, I want you to think about it for yourself, because if a statement is not personalized, it means nothing. If a statement is shared with me, if a statement is shared with you, if a statement is shared with us in a group setting, if that statement is not personalized, that statement does not mean anything. I don't mean personalized in the context of taking it personal from a lack of managing my emotions perspective. I'm saying you make it your own. How does that statement apply to where I am at this present moment in October the 7th? And where can this statement take me in my future? My first thought that comes to mind is when I thought as a child, I spoke as a child. I did things as a child, but when I became a man, when I became mature, I put away childish things. I put away activities, thoughts, behaviors, even quotation marks friends that did not fit the season that my life is in, that did not fit the pathway where my life is going or was going. I've been through that process before. It wasn't that I didn't like those people anymore. It was that my life was taking a different pathway. And for me to be in agreement with the pathway of my life, I had to isolate and distance myself from people and familiar environments. Because the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. That statement right there is a true statement. We have eagles. You can take notes on this if you feel. We have eagles. We have vultures. We have parrots, and we have turkeys. We should be in association with the eagles, those birds who just fly high. Minimum distractions and turbulence. We shouldn't be associated with parrots. Parrots are individuals who can repeat what they heard or what somebody else said, but not live it. The vultures, of course, they take advantage of and prey on those who are perceived as weak. Then you have the turkeys, who are dust-dwelling creatures. They play on a lower level. These are all mentalities that people can have. You can have eagle, You can have a vulture, you can have a parrot, and you can have a turkey. As we progress in our lives, the same the way that we used to think, it can't be identical to where our lives is going. Something to ponder on. Feel free to put any of your questions or statements in the comment section. That is the first thought. That is the first thought because sometimes we don't have enough awareness to accommodate where our life is going. And this is an awareness conversation for us to think about. All right, where is my life going? And my does my thought life accommodate where my practical life is going? Because there's going to be a consequence associated with my decision making. That means my decision making has to be very sharp and intentional in correlation to who I perceive myself to be right now and who I perceive myself to be as I grow in the future from a maturity standpoint. I want to get some elaboration on these, a couple other thoughts I put on the Facebook wall today. And I forgot where these thoughts just came from. I was really in preparation for a group session today. And when I'm looking at material and putting material together, statements, they just come up. Why they come up? This is a powerful statement though. This is a powerful statement. I'm gonna get this first one, and I'm gonna give the second one. So that's the first quote about Albert Einstein. Then here goes the second and third quotes. Uh, and I couldn't phrase it how I wanted to because sometimes when you put too many words in a Facebook quote, it'll write it out plain. I want it to be in black. I had to take off a word. So I'm gonna add the word that I took off. Sometimes we don't feel the impact of the decision we make because we don't see the immediate consequence of the decision we've made. Sometimes we don't feel the impact of the decisions we make because we don't see the immediate consequence of the decision we made. We don't understand the impact. We don't feel the impact because we don't see it immediately right there. And that is very misleading. That is very misleading because if I make a decision and a series of decisions, it's water being given to a seed. It's water being given to a seed. And if that seed finds good ground, it's going to produce something, meaning there's going to be some type of outcome or result of or associated with these series of decisions, whether those decisions are positive or negative. And I will define in context of this conversation what I mean when I say positive and negative. I'm not necessarily saying good or bad, or although you can look at it that way, but I'll define it for you in a second. If we don't feel the impact of the decision that we made, then we don't understand it because we don't see the immediacy or the immediate result of those decisions. But this statement in connection will hopefully give us understanding. The consequences that are most detrimental to our future are negative behavior patterns that arise from our thoughts and actions. The consequences that are the most detrimental to our future are negative behavior patterns that arise from our thoughts and actions. I do have a concern about the consequence, the outcome, the fruit, the result of my decision making. I am concerned but I'm more concerned about the pattern that is built as a result of that outcome. Because the pattern can transition to autopilot. It can transition into being unconsciously competent. What does that mean? It's synonymous. It means that I'm making decisions without even thinking about it. My decision making is on autopilot. My decision making is so ingrained in my psyche, my soul, my mind, my will, and my emotions that I put no thought or no effort into these decisions that I'm making. It can serve a greater purpose or it can serve a lesser purpose. I'm more focused on the behavior patterns associated with the outcome than I am the outcome. Because the outcome has to be assessed. We have to look at the outcome of or the consequences of the decisions that we make. That lets us know if we're making quote unquote good, bad, wise, or foolish decisions. But once we go deeper and find out what's the behavior pattern connected to our decision making, then that's where we really attempt to or going to get into the root of now why am I making this decision? When was this outcome positively reinforced? And that's one aspect I want to share with you before we wrap this conversation up. I'm gonna give you a couple more thoughts to consider, but that's something that I want to touch on when we are dealing with people, adults, our peers, or our kids. And I need to share this with us, but I would like to share, yeah, the consequence. I want to define consequence in context of this conversation. So type this word real quick for me. Adults. 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 As adults, we never want to, and this is a tough statement for me to make. As adults, we never want to consciously reinforce. We never want to consciously reinforce a dysfunctional or negative behavior. We never we never want to do that because our kids, whether they are our biological kids, whether they are students, whether they are mentees, whether they are clients, nieces and nephews, whether you and I believe it or not, young people look up to older people for validation, affirmation, and confirmation. Validation, affirmation, and confirmation. If a young person has a thought, or maybe that person, male or female, was involved in some type of behavior, and he or she experienced the desired outcome from that behavior. If that desired outcome is associated with a behavior that's dysfunctional, we can't afford to confirm it. So if I can say this with clarity, a young person wants to do something. We share with them, don't do that. Wait for a second. But he or she is really amped up to get this done. And we say, hey, slow down a bit. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen. He or she, they go ahead and do it, which was their outcome. And I'm gonna give a definition of success too. when I give this definition of consequence. They were successful in what they were attempting to achieve, but how they did it, it was dangerous. It was dangerous, and just because they did it doesn't mean that it's right, and doesn't mean we should affirm it. We got to find. Sometimes we got to go deeper and find out how that person achieved what they achieved, or did that person achieve what they achieved by bypassing our instruction, our ideas, or suggestions. The reason why I'm really going hard in the paint concerning that or giving more detail is because once we affirm, confirm, or validate an outcome of success that's associated with a dysfunctional method, then that person will continue in that behavior pattern because they already received affirmation from us. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous to go that route. It's very dangerous to go that route. Let me give you consequence, and then I'm gonna give you accountability and success, and then it's a wrap. I'm hoping that this is gonna help you because I'm being very general. I'm being general intentionally because I want us to be able to apply this in various settings. I don't want it to be just in one setting. I want it to be able to be diverse, in the application of the idea, the concept, and the application of it. Let's talk about consequences. Consequence. This is in the negative form. It's an unpleasant or difficult result. It's an unpleasant or difficult as a result, or let's say this. It's an unpleasant or difficulty is a result of a previous action or something negative that follows as a result of a bad decision. A consequence on a positive aspect is a pleasant result of a previous action or something positive that follows as a result of a good decision. The negative consequence is something that's an outcome of a previous action or a bad decision. The positive is a pleasant result of a previous action or something positive as a result of a good decision. When I say negative in context, what I mean is that a negative is something or someone that will subtract value from your life. Positive is something or someone that will add value to your life. I want to share this last piece. I want to share this last piece and then these last two. Accountability. Somebody please type the word accountability. I need to make this statement too. Success. Success and accountability. Accountability can be defined as basically to be responsible to somebody or something, and a success and the achievement of something planned or attempted. That means that we can be successful at the wrong thing. Just because a person has been successful or experienced success in an area does not mean that the success that he or she has experienced is productive because it's defined as the achievement of something planned or attempted. Bad example, y'all. This is a bad example. A group of people can rob somebody and be successful at it, but it's not productive to society and it's not productive to them long term. It may be productive to them short term in their psyche or their mindset, but it's not predictive. It's not positive long term. Please feel that. Accountability to be responsible to somebody or for something. That the reason why I made this statement is because some people believe that they can be mentored by people on the internet. Some people believe that a person, male or female, can mentor you on the internet. That's not true. That's not true. You can get wisdom, strategy, ideas from a person on the internet, but a person that's dead cannot mentor you. There are there are legends that have passed on, and their content is still available. And we honor them, we respect them, we appreciate their life and the sacrifice that they made to give us the jewels, the keys, the principles, the ideas, the methodologies, the strategies that we can use to improve the quality of our life. But a person that has gone on, that has passed on or transitioned, cannot mentor you. Why? Because in order for a person to be mentored, you have to be spot checked. What does that mean? Spot check. Spot check means that when you come to your mentor, whoever that person may be, male or female, they can look into your life right then at that moment on October 7th, 2024 at 7:48 p.m. and tell you that's a good spot right there. That's an okay spot. You may want to change this spot right here. You may want to make this adjustment over here. Take this down, put this up, straighten this out, clean that up, throw that away. Nobody on the internet that has no relationship with me can tell me exactly what needs to be adjusted, how it needs to be adjusted, and when it needs to be adjusted. Nobody can. We respect them, but you cannot be accountable to somebody on the internet that you don't know. You cannot be accountable to somebody on the internet that has passed away. You can be accountable to somebody that's living and breathing in the moment. And we also can be accountable to God. But God uses people for us to be accountable to. If I'm ducking people, don't want to be around people, and I find myself in a continuous isolation, then I could presume and assume that my growth, my potential hasn't been maxed out. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to share concerning consequences. I may have some other thoughts, excuse me, to share, but let's see. Let me give a couple of seconds to see if y'all got any feedback, any questions, or any thoughts that y'all would like to share before we either shut it down or go to the next. I may have one more, but I want to see what y'all had to share. I see Lamar Rob, I see James, I see Darren on. Also, feel free to share this video uh-oh, if you want to, because I only have two more thoughts to share concerning the consequences of decisions. All right, let's close it out. The consequence, somebody type this in the chat for me. If you're watching it now, if you're watching it later. The consequences of my decision are habits. When I talked about negative or positive behavior patterns, the consequences of my decisions that I need to give attention to and audience to are habits. I'll look at the outcome. I'll look at the outcome. And if I can say this about outcomes, y'all, if I can say this about outcomes, we can misappropriate or we can miss on how we evaluate an outcome if we look at it subjectively. We can miss out on our evaluation of an outcome or a result if we look at it subjectively. If I look at the outcome subjectively, then that means I'm looking at it from my viewpoint solely. And if my viewpoint can be biased, then I may not see nothing wrong with the result. And it may be something wrong with the results. But if I look at it objectively and I don't have any skin in the game and I'm not looking for approval and I'm not people pleasing, then I can be truthful with you. And I can be truthful with myself and say, you know what, I was wrong about that. That needs to change. So that's a wisdom key. I talked about habits real quick. Habits, 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 habits. I don't care what you want to be professionally, who you want to be personally in life. Habits separate those who are great from those who are average and good. Habits separate those who are great, who are goats, from those who are average and good. It's very simple. It's the habits that are built up over a substantial period of time that transitions into unconscious competence or autopilot. Let me give you a definition of that because it's important that I do. Unconscious competence means that the individual has mastered the skill to the extent that it becomes second nature. They can perform the skill effortlessly without conscious thought, often multitasking without compromising performance. The skill has become internalized so deeply that it is carried out automatically, similar to the way experienced drivers might navigate and react without consciously thinking through each step. Decisions and actions relate to the skill and are made intuitively. I can drive home and not think about it. I have done it so many times that it's ingrained in me to the point where I've become unconsciously competent at the skill. And in order for us to do that, we must identify the skill and recognize, which is associated with awareness, to its importance, in addition to consistent practice and dedication. For us to become unconsciously competent and operate on autopilot, the skill in question has to be identified as important, which brings awareness to the skill. Then it has to be practiced with commitment, consistent practice, and dedication. And lastly, habits. Habits are decisions on autopilot. Habits are decisions on autopilot. How did my habits become on autopilot? How did my habits become unconscious competent where I didn't think about doing, saying, moving? Keyword, my environment. My environment. You can look at environment a couple of ways. You can look at environment from a practical aspect. Birds of a feather, the birds of a feather flock together. Who am I around? Who am I hanging around consistently? You could think of it at that aspect, but you can also think of it on a deeper aspect. And when I think about environment, I think about where am I living from? Am I living from the earth in my natural sense, or am I living from heaven in the heavenly dimension, spiritually in the eyes of God? Am I living from the environment of the kingdom of God inside of me, or am I living from the environment outside of me, the earth, my senses, um, that I'm consciously aware, the touch, the taste, the feel, the smell, the sight. Those five senses have to go through a filtration system to be purified, to see, to hear, to taste, to touch, to hear through the dimension we call heaven or God's perspective. Appreciate y'all staying with us tonight. I'm gonna have this up on the Facebook wall for a minute, and then may move some clips to Reels, and then post it on the YouTube page. Maybe we'll do this every Monday night on a topic. If you a person that would like to pop in, and I'm also open to bringing people in and getting, various perspectives and insights too. That's an option that's open. But if this is something that you want to see more on Monday evenings, let me know. You can just type this is something I want to see. And you can even put some topics up there or inbox me some topics of interest. And if I believe they align with the direction of who I am as a person and what we're doing with our programs, then we can have at it. All right. Appreciate y'all peoples. Happy Monday. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your week. And as I always say, be great at what you do, but be even greater at who you are. Let's get out of here.